Perfect. So yes, so as I was saying, we're here today to talk about the LIFE programme, but being part of the EU funding team, if we find out this doesn't fit for you, certainly still come talk to us and we'll see what else we can set you up with. We have Slido, so the code is there online on the screen for anyone in the room. It's also on the agenda, so you can scan that with your phone camera, and that's one way to ask questions. And you can ask questions in the chat by putting up your hand, and we have mics then if anyone wants to ask in person. So this is the agenda. So I'll do a quick overview, and then we're very lucky to have Gustavo from SENEA, who will go into greater detail about the LIFE project. Then Philip Cheesty will talk to us about the clean energy transition sub-programme. And we've got Neil, who's the ELMAN monitoring, so he has great insights on the funding of LIFE, and the sort of once you get past us and have no need for us anymore, and you've got a project, what happens then? Christina from the REAL then will talk to us about the support they give to applicants. And then we've got Shauna from the department as well to talk about our new Ireland for Life capacity building project. So the LIFE programme, so it's structured. We're going until next year at least, and hopefully beyond that. And it's basically split up into environment and climate. Under environment, you've got nature and biodiversity, circular economy and quality of life. In circular economy and quality of life as well, we also have certain topics that will get funded that can change, and these are all in the core documents. Again, the national contact point here in the department can help you. Climate, we have climate change mitigation adaptation and the clean energy transition. Yes, so LIFE has been going since 1992, so it's well established, and it's been supporting environmental and climate projects in Ireland since then. Since 2014, we've had 52 projects and have received over 100 million from the LIFE programme. And you can see there was a great increase there in 21 and 22, and something we'd like that to continue for the next couple of years. So at the moment, Life Nature sort of leads the way, and then environment. We will have to get these updated because certainly the clean energy transition is coming up there, and I'm sure has surpassed climate at this stage. It is very popular in Ireland, and when Philip does his presentation, you'll see why. So who can apply? So if you're wondering if your organisation qualifies, chances are it does. You don't have to be a public body or a large organisation. The key is the project idea and whether it fits with life priorities and the different criteria and the sub-programmes. In Ireland, we've had everything from like a small community group who have gone in with their local authority right up to, government departments. Everyone wants to know how much money they can get. So for the standard action projects, this is up to 60% funding. There is an opportunity, though, in the nature and biodiversity sub-programme to receive 75% in specific cases. Clean energy transition, you can receive up to 95% co-funding. And the strategic integrated projects and nature projects, it's up to 60% as well. So how we support LIFE applicants. So I have a small team, but a very dedicated team, and we have an inbox. And if you have any queries, please send those into the inbox and we will contact you. We're very happy to take meetings, whether online or in person. They tend to be more online. We act as that first contact point, whether you're considering an application. We can explain the eligibility and the funding rates and the different project types. We organise sessions like today and network opportunities. If you are looking for partners, we can contact the other member states' national contact points and help you get in touch with a partner. And we can provide feedback on your project idea. additional support then through the department, and I'm very happy that we've received this funding for the last couple of years now. So we help with the proposal development. So this year, Éireann Innovation will offer that extra support. If you're on our mailing list, you would have got an email considering the concept note. So you apply via the concept note, and the ones we evaluate them, and the best standards will get a couple of sessions with Éireann before they submit in September. If you haven't received those details, again, talk to us either today or contact us via life@dcee.gov.ie, and we can put you on the mail list and send you the details of that. Also, this year is the beginning of our capacity building project, Ireland for Life, and under this we'll be given additional assistance for local authorities. They automatically qualify, so there's no sort of application there. Next year we'll be offering training, but this year before the deadline there is that assistance from a proposal writer before you apply. They're just our contact details, and we can share the slides afterwards. I'm going to leave Q&A till later, and I'll get the other presenters up just because I know, Gustavo, you may have to leave. So again, please come talk to us at any stage, contact us in the department, and we're happy to meet anyone and to discuss their proposals. So I'll just have Kieran now just hand over to Gustavo, and thank you so much for coming.
Gustavo, you can see that slides, yeah?
Yes, it's not on presentation mode as far as I can see. But,
okay, I'll put on presentation mode now, okay?
Okay. Great. I think we're ready to go. Thank you, Kieran. Thank you, Aideen. And good morning, everyone. My name is Gustavo Becerra Jurado, and I work at CINEA as a project advisor, dealing mainly with projects under the nature and biodiversity strand of life. I'm also co-coordinator for the nature governance information topic. So I suppose I start with what CINEA is. CINEA is, I'll try to say it right, is the European Executive Agency for Climate, Infrastructure and Environment. And it's an agency that implements different EU programs on behalf of the European Commission, amongst those the LIFE program. So CINEA is also called the Green Deal Agency because it implements EU programs or part of those programs directly contributing to the objectives of the European Green Deal. And as you may know, the European Green Deal is set to transform the European economy and societies for a sustainable future. So the key word here is sustainable. That's why it's underlined there. So it is the plan to make the EU economy sustainable, and this can be achieved through turning environmental and climate challenges into opportunities. I won't go into much detail here. This slide is quite dense, but I just wanted to mention that it set a number of ambitious objectives and that yielded several strategies and plans. Next slide, please. And the next one. Great. Now, in order to deliver on some of these plans and strategies, CINEA was given the mandate to manage a number of programs, among those the LIFE program. You can go ahead. The next slide. Okay, so here just to highlight that the LIFE program is the only EU funding instrument 100% dedicated to environment and climate action, including the clean energy transition. Although the total budget you can see there for the 2021-2027 programming period is proportionally low, with only 5.4 billion euro. The program fully contributes to the objectives and targets of the European Green Deal specifically. So it is a program that has quite a long history. It has funded over 6,500 projects in the last 34 years, reaching many areas in Europe. The total budget for the 2026 call, as you can see, is around 600 million. And this is normally done following a bottom-up approach. So instead of defining what the project proposals should be, in many cases, for many of the topics, it is open to new ideas, so the ideas actually come from you. So yeah, it is clear that the LIFE program alone, with this limited budget, cannot solve all the environmental climate challenges that we're facing, but it can indeed contribute to an economy that is sustainable, circular, energy efficient, renewable base, climate neutral, and resilient, while also helping to protect, restore, and improve the quality of the environment and health, and contributes also to halting and reversing biodiversity loss. So in this sense, the LIFE program has it occupies this niche between what are the European research and innovation programs, such as Horizon, and development programs, such as the structural funds and cohesion funds, for example. Or else to say here, well, the LIFE program aims at, as I was saying, bridging this gap between also large-scale research and implementation. So it involves extensive testing and demonstration work as well. So in this sense, the LIFE program funds projects that develop and demonstrate innovative techniques and approaches, but also projects that help implement and comply with plans and strategies in accordance with the EU legislation. So I think it's enough of an introduction. Let's maybe move on to the next slide with more details about the program itself. Right, so as you can see here, there are 4 sub-programs. We have the Nature and Biodiversity sub-program, the Circular Economy and Quality of Life, Climate Change and Mitigation and Adaptation, and Clean Energy Transition. So just to go through a little bit briefly about each of these, for the Nature and Biodiversity, broadly speaking, this sub-program aims to contribute to the implementation of the Biodiversity Strategy 2030, and more specifically, the nature directives, so habitats and bird directives, as well as the invasive alien species regulation. Now, for the second subprogram, the circular economy and quality of life, it covers all European environmental legislation that is actually not included in the nature and biodiversity part. So that will be circular economy, noise, air, chemicals, soil, water, etc. And an important aspect to keep in mind that it finances not only innovation, but also best practices. So both types of projects are welcome. Now, for the third subprogram, climate change mitigation and adaptation, this contributes to the transformation of the EU towards these goals and targets, the objective of being a climate neutral and climate resilient economy. So that will be through mitigation, but also adaptation projects, and some governance aspects are also welcome here. And then lastly, the clean energy transition. So this aims at facilitating the transition towards an renewable energy-based, climate neutral and resilient economy. Well, I won't go into much detail here because there will be a presentation after this one. So obviously we can't solve all the environmental problems here in Europe, but we can attempt to do it, to contribute to do it, and we do that part quite successfully so far. So these types of projects are like can serve as models that can be later on upscaled and replicated. I think we can move to the next slide. Yeah, so this is nature and biodiversity. So to say that this one is focused on halting and reversing biodiversity loss. So implementation of biodiversity strategy 2030, supporting Natura 2000 network, quite important, and also the prioritized action frameworks. Yes, this is actually a framework that won't be as compulsory in the future and will be replaced by the nature restoration plans, but it's still valid. So what we're trying to do is to contribute to the overall objectives of the EU's nature and biodiversity policy. And I would underline that all LIFE projects are under this subprogram are linked to the actual policy, and even the countries that are outside of the EU the objective is to move towards the same objectives as our legislation, even if they are not in force. So this project must be focused on protecting species that are in danger or habitats requiring protection or restoration. And to mention that there's always an on-the-ground conservation aspect, conservation actions, and monitoring as well should be targeted to the conservation to target an actual impact. Next slide, please. And now we have the circular economy and quality of life. Okay, this is perhaps the most general subprogram. It's quite broad. Again, this is about the transition towards this economy that is sustainable, circular, toxic-free, energy efficient, and climate resilient. These are all big words, but those are the objectives. And also at protecting and restoring and improving the quality of the environment. So we support the implementation of technologies and solutions to test them, roll them out in real world conditions, and to clarify that we don't finance research per se. That's quite important. We're trying to see how things. So there's some noise here. I cannot really. Okay, thank you. Someone's microphone is on. Oh, great. Thank you. So what was I saying? Yeah, that so we support the implementation of technologies and solutions that will be tested during the project, but in real world conditions. And we don't finance the research. So research activities, we don't do that. What we're trying to verify is that how things have already been developed through research and science that can be applied on the ground. That is the part that we're interested in. We're trying to find pilot solutions and that work with all the stakeholders, right? So there will be the economic actors, civil society, private citizens, so all the stakeholders. Next slide, please. Then we have the climate mitigation and adaptation. So for here we have two scopes. One is mitigation, the other one is adaptation. For mitigation, the aim is to reduce the greenhouse gas emissions, enhance the functioning of the emissions trading system, increase the generation and use of renewable energy, and the improvement of energy efficiency. We look at projects that can contribute, generally speaking, to the 2030 energy and climate policies. This will be updated with the 2040 targets that were developed. It's in support of the plans of the national energy and climate plans. Whether that's at a local level or a sectorial level. And then we have the climate change adaptation. Here the scope is to support the adaptation policy development and adaptation strategies to develop the state-of-the-art tools and solutions for adaptation, as well as to the nature-based solutions in the management of land, forests, coastal, marine areas. So there's a lot that can be covered here. And this is an increasingly important topic because the cost of adaptation will significantly rise. And it's time to find the solutions to prepare both the cities and our agriculture to these changes of climate change. So we really look for innovative solutions here. Next slide, please. Okay, here I won't go into any detail. This will be covered by Philip after me, so that's fine. We can move on. Okay, so these are the types of activities funded under LIFE. Okay, so we have the different sub-programs, but at the same time we have different types of projects, right? So we have action grants, which in turn are divided into the strategic nature projects, strategic integrated projects, standard action projects, technical assistance, and other actions. They all have their acronyms. The first one, SNAPS. So these are strategic projects dedicated to nature and biodiversity. Then the second, the SIPs, are the strategic projects that are for other sub-programs. The standard action projects, okay, so these first two, even though there are fewer projects that we fund, proportionally, this is a big piece of the cake, is 1/4 of the budget. So these are big projects. And then we have the SAPs, the standard action projects, which are in fact those that were referred to before as the traditional projects. So there's a long history of this for the LIFE program. Then we have technical assistance, TA, and the PLPs. And then, of course, the operating grants that will the call will open soon, but maybe you're not that interested in this. Okay, so we can move on to the next slide, please. Okay, so let's start with the SAPs, the standard action projects. As you can see there, more than 300 million. This comprises all three sub-programs, and the co-financial rate normally is 60%. There are exceptions. For nature and biodiversity, 75%. This is only if the proposal complies with certain requirements, depending on what the actions are, what species or habitats the actions are aiming for. Maximum duration is 10 years. And here you have like the calls when they opened and the application deadlines. It's a single stage, so the single stage application procedure. That means that there's only one you apply for with your project with all the information at once. There are other types of projects that you have like two-stage process when you provide a concept note, like the essential, the main points of what you want to do, and then if you're successful, then you pass to the next stage. That will be the second stage. For this, it's only a single stage, and you present your full proposal there. Next slide, please. Now, in particular, as I was saying, for nature and biodiversity, 170 million, and there we have like two subtopics. Nature and biodiversity, this is the majority of the projects fall under this, and then nature governance and information. The main difference is that for nature and biodiversity, there's with on the ground restoration, activities on species and so on, and for nature governance and information is like more of some of these more soft activities. You can describe them, and so there's with awareness raising activities. You also have like to make sure that all the stakeholders are involved in the Natura 2000 network and so on. But this year, there's also other types of actions that are to remove barriers that previously were preventing the replication and scaling. And but these barriers for this topic, they have to be administrative, regulatory, financial, or organizational. An example here could be, for example, for the common agriculture policy, that maybe there's an agro-environmental measure that could be applied, but there's something that's stopping it. So this, what these projects will aim will be not to replicate itself, but to remove the barrier. That has to be clear for your application. And here you can see that the table with the different the budget, the how much per project we kind of estimate. It doesn't have to be like that, but this is what we estimate, and the number of projects per subtopic. Next slide, please. Then we have circular economy and quality of life, 80 million, 86 million. Very different types of projects. So you have here the circular economy and waste, zero pollution and sustainable management of natural resources and environmental governance. To say here that for when you apply under this, for you're competing with 1 and 2. Any proposal that falls under 1 and 2, except for the new European Bauhaus, is the same pot of money, the same envelope. A different envelope will be the new European Bauhaus, and a different envelope will be the environmental governance. Again, there's like this new aspect for environmental governance, which is like the removal of barriers. Here's a little bit broader than before. It's like there are other things. I invite you to take a look at the call to see exactly what types of actions will be covered. And yeah, and you have here the background, the breakdown as well of the two, environmental and environmental governance. Next slide, please. Right, and then climate action. So there are 7 areas of intervention for mitigation, 9 areas of intervention for adaptation, and 8 areas of intervention for governance and information. This has slightly changed. The governance and information, last year there were 9, and this year there are 8. And again, this is the breakdown with the projects and estimated number of projects and the budgets and so on. Next slide, please. Right, okay, so this is a deeper, totally different type of project. This is a strategic type of project. The proposals are much bigger. We have SIPs and SNAPs, which are like, the SNAPs are for nature and biodiversity, SIPs are for the other 2. And one of the main differences here is that this is a 2-stage application procedure. So you have the concept note, and then if you're successful, then you're invited to submit your full proposal. So that's for all 3 sub-programs. 60% governance rate, and something to keep in mind is that it's maximum 14-year duration with extension. So normally the limit will be 10 years for your proposal, but if there are extensions while the project is being implemented, and for whatever reason more time is needed, it can go up to 14 years, but no more than that. And here you have the call when it opened and the deadlines. Has anything changed? Well, it's similar to the 2025 call text, generally speaking. There are some plans that types of plans that can be also targeted, because these strategic projects always have to target the full implementation of a plan or a strategy. For environmental drought management and noise plans, and for SNAP, the national restoration plans that are currently being drafted, and so those can be targeted. There are also some clarifications on complementary funding. This was something that was we thought that could be better explained in the calls, so those were included. Next slide, please. So yes, here are the different characteristics of these projects, that they are designed to implement certain plans and strategies. They are definitely at a large territorial scale. It could also be, it doesn't have to be national, it can be regional as well, but it has to be a wide range in the scale. Then the stakeholder engagement is something that has to be there in the proposal. All the key stakeholders have to be either involved or as partners, or they will be as users, and therefore like they have been contacted and they will be active in the implementation of the project in some way. We look to mobilize and engage and coordinate complementary funding sources, and to mainstream the objectives and priorities into other policies. So we can move to the next slide, please. Yes. Of course, this is very difficult to put together these types of projects. It takes a lot of time, and we are very much aware of that. So there's another type of project that actually helps you prepare strategic projects. We have a budget of €1 million, and the maximum live contribution is €70,000. And what has changed? Well, this project should cover the preparation for both the concept note and the full proposals. As you may remember, this is a two-stage procedure, so it should cover both stages, the concept note and the full proposal. Next slide, please. And then, of course, we have PLP. I don't know if you remember before, I was saying that normally we follow a bottom-up approach. The ideas come from you. We're not really very descriptive, prescriptive. Sorry. So you can come up with ideas as best suits. Of course, targeting the objectives of each of the calls. Here for PLP, it's very defined. So you can see all the details. The funding rate is higher, it's 90% maximum. So it could be very interesting if you think that you can really have a strong proposal on those specific priorities. So there are 3 core topics this year: the nature and also environment. They are grouped together. Include 5 specific priorities, and then there's also energy governance, energy compliance. So, and that is, I think, worth taking a look at, because it can be a good opportunity. Next slide, please. And then I've just included a summary with all the budget, the deadlines, and when the grant signature will take place if the funding is secured. So just so that you have all the information together. So this is the first part of the summary, and then the next slide is the continuation. So I don't know how we're looking with time. I think we're more or less okay. So if we move on a little bit to the next one. So yeah, this is the evaluation process. Just to quickly go through it, how this is done. So first we check all the proposals. We check that they are admissible and eligible, so the basic requirements are there. and then we do the evaluation. We have a pool of external experts looking into all the proposals. And then once the results are there with the process, all the candidates are notified at once. So everyone at the same time, regardless of if they obtain secure the funding or not. And after that, there's a period of what we call grant agreement preparation, which is like a reviewing and the proposals a little bit more and to see how they can be improved. Just to keep in mind that at this stage, the funding is still not secured. That doesn't happen until the actual signature of the grant agreement. That is very logical until that is done. So it is at that moment when the actual proposal is guaranteed to be funded, and this overall takes up to 9 months. Now, something I want to talk about as well is how to have the best chance to obtain the funding for the LIFE program. So we can do that. Well, first of all, to say that for this program, there's significant competition. It's quite fierce. But yeah, many times this depends if the proposal has been submitted before, then normally there are more chances because we provide a lot of feedback, and they're like detailed feedback that if you really are interested in improving the proposal, you can really do it because well, we try to do it as clearly as possible. So that really helps. That's the feedback that we get. So normally it's the proposals are not very well prepared or the objectives are not very ambitious. That's what normally happens. But it's not that no, we kind of see a pattern of what happens, and that's what I want to explain in the following slides. Well, first of all, please, if you want to apply, please read all the documents that are there. There's starting with the call, specific calls, and how this works. So you also have the national contact point. Please use the resources that are there, and that will be the starting point. And then, next slide, please. When writing the proposal, I will say that to really make sure that the baseline is clear. Some projects really miss that. It's essential. What is because if you think about it, you need to be able to have like your current situation to be able to say what you want to achieve. So, but you will be surprised how many proposals are quite vague about the baseline, and that's obviously not good for the evaluation and to score high there. Then the sequence of actions, they need to be logical. We need to see what the steps are. Normally, there's like some planning, clear planning, and why the actions are done in a certain order, or the links are between them. Then the impacts, I cannot stress enough the importance of estimating the impacts, like quantitatively. We want to see the numbers. Actually, many times this award number 2, impact weighs more than the rest of the award criteria. So it's something to really make an effort about and really have the figures. We want the figures there. Next slide, please. Then we have the sustainability aspect, and we want to make sure that the money that is invested in the project will the impact will last in the future. So these are aspects like that who is going to maintain the effort there, who owns the land, will anything change? So we want all that information to be clearly written in the proposal, as well as the uptake and replication. So where the information was taken from, other if you took from essential aspects from other EU-funded projects. So if so, we want to have that information ready, and the replication, how your results can be replicated in other areas or in other sectors. And then, like, who is going to be doing what? So what beneficiaries are going to be doing exactly which actions? That has to be also clearly described. Next slide, please. I think this is the last one about this. So yeah, don't think like by having many different actions that is a better proposal. No, it has to be focused to what is what you want to tackle, what issue, and for that you have to be even targeted. So only those are essential to achieve the project objectives. Also, to think a little bit of the coherence between the text and in the different parts of the proposal. It can be quite long, the proposal, and sometimes we find that some information in one place doesn't really make sense what with another section is saying. So this coherence is key. The partnership structure. So yeah, what key stakeholders are involved, and if some should be and they're not there, well, that would be regarded as a flaw. So you don't have to have like a very broad consortium that you cannot manage, but if there are some that are key, they should be there. And then in general, the project duration, sufficient time to really gather the information. Some of the information you have to gather at the beginning of the project, obtain permits and authorizations, that takes time, so not to be underestimated, and always to allow for a buffer, some additional time, because anything can happen. Hopefully not a lot, but it's good. It's good practice to do it and design it in that way. And of course, to comply with the live program communication requirements. So platform meetings or networking events that is also to be included. And I think that's all for the project design. Well, this is just a summary. But yeah, it's pretty much what I was talking about, the good design and the common problems, things like insufficient background information, why, who, and how, the rationale, objectives too broad, poor partnership, too optimistic or unrealistic. You have the two extremes. Replication that sometimes is not very solid, and how the sustainability is going to be guaranteed, and yeah, but yeah. So you have the examples of good design. as well. So yeah, key stakeholders involved, solid analysis of the program, clear strategy on how to sustain and multiply the impacts. So yeah, that's there if you want to make use of this information. And next slide, please. I think that's all from me. Yes, just to wish you good luck, and I'm available for questions.
Yeah, so I know Gustavo has to leave, so if anyone has any questions for him, we'll take them in the room. There's Slido, we'll just get a mic over to you in 1 second. There was one online, Gustavo, anyway. Can we submit applications for other EU funding sources at the same time?
At the same time, okay. At the same time, well, you can, of course, you can submit proposals for other EU funding programs, yes. Or maybe the thing to be aware of is that if you do, well, first of all, you have to inform the granting authority that you're doing that. And then if you do receive you're given the funding, and so it's a bit, it can be a bit dangerous as well, as in it has to be managed, because if you're funding with the two programs at the same time, and one of them is maybe essential, one of these actions are essential, well, there's always the risk of double funding, and that has to be reported. So it cannot be obviously be funded by the two programs. So yeah, we do. And if you don't say it, we are going to do cross checks. We're going to double check. So this is, don't think that this is not going to be spotted. It will be spotted. So yeah, it can be done, but you're not allowed to be funded twice.
Yeah, obviously double funding is very important. Also, anyone who has the time to do more than one application, you know, hats off to you. It does take that. We have a question in the room.
Someone have to have national departments in order in the country, or just one have to have international departments covered in the EU. One question. And number two, let's say a project. So the last question, one has a project already that's funded under, say, Interreg, for example, and one then apply for, you know, with an extended project based on the original Interreg project, and that then Albert Berlin project. People obviously actually people.
Yeah, no problem. Gustavo, I'll just repeat that. They just couldn't hear online. So the first one was, is it necessary that projects have national or international partners? That's correct, yeah. And the second question then is, say if a project is already receiving the likes of Interreg funding, can they use LIFE to extend the project? Is that, and deepen it? That's the correct summary, yeah. Well, I'll go for the first one anyway, Gustavo. Yeah, it's not necessary in a lot of the LIFE projects to have a partner, a consortium. There's obviously advantages of it, unless you're applying under the clean energy transition, and Philip talking next will go into further details, where sometimes that is necessary. But no, you can apply as a single entity.
Okay, for the second question, well, it depends on how you frame it. So we fund projects, LIFE program projects on their own. So yeah, so we do ask for this uptake. So it could be that from Interreg projects, there were some good results, and then there's a specific issue about it, and then you can apply for the LIFE program after the Interreg project has finished. Yes, you can.
Okay, thanks.
Some questions in the chat.
There's just some questions in the chat. We'll have a look there. The slides will be shared. So can local authorities apply more than once with different projects? Yes, for the short one. Again, you know, there could be a time constraint, but yeah, you can apply in as many sub-programs, like you can apply as many times, like put in a number of applications. But again, I suppose it is competitive, and Gustavo, you probably agree that, you know, you should probably focus on one. That would be the advice. It just depends on your resources as well, and obviously, like the local authorities, you could have someone from parks applying for, you know, something, and someone from housing applying for something very different. But there's nothing stopping you from applying more than once in the 1 year. And then Claire, I see. Yeah, we can send examples of Irish projects previously funded. There's also a public dashboard online. We can send that link. We'll put that link in the chat, Claire. But a Google search will come up, and you can see every LIFE program that's been funded. And then there's a nice interactive map, and you can click on Ireland and see everything that's been funded under Ireland. Yeah. Any other questions in the room? No, I don't see any online on Slido. Gustavo, thank you so much, and it's great for when you join us for these things, and really appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. And if you have any questions or whatever that come up later, you can send them, and I'll do my best to reply.
Perfect. Thank you, Gustavo. Thanks.
Thank you.
Up next now will be Philip Cheasty. He has years of experience for the clean energy transition, an expert beyond all experts. As I said earlier, clean energy transition, probably one of the most popular sub-programs in Ireland, and you'll see why. So I'll let Philip sell it. There's not much selling.
It's 95% funding, so that's the selling point. Is there a speaker here?
Yeah, you have to talk into that.
I have to talk into that.
Terrible.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much. So yeah, good morning. I have to stay here. I have to talk into the laptop. So I'll probably keep looking around like that, trying to figure out what's going on. So yeah, I am Philip Cheasty. I'm with Enterprise Ireland. I'm national contact point for the LIFE CET sub-program. So you have 4 sub-programs. The energy one is a bit different compared to what would be the biodiversity, the nature and the biodiversity programs. It was originally, there was a program called Intelligent Energy Europe, and that was around energy efficiency. So that was way back in 2008. So it sort of moved on since then, but now it covers energy efficiency and renewables and all sustainable energy sources. So actually, I'm also a national contact point for Horizon Europe Energy and a few other bits. And the new European Bauhaus was mentioned earlier by Gustavo. That's actually a new program that has a very much focus on people and buildings and spaces. And so I cover that as well. So just looking back, so the EU run on 7-year cycles. We're in the last 2 years of the LIFE program. So this call is the second last call, and then we have a final call in 2027. So far, well, actually, if you look at the dashboard, which is the EU information system on projects, it's up to date for 2024 projects. The 2025 projects are actually under evaluation, so they're not on the dashboard yet. But if you look at it, you'll see that Ireland has drawn down 14.9 million. We're in 40 different projects, and we have 68 participations in those projects. Now, actually, the results of the 2025 calls are out, so we're getting an extra 2 million from 2025, and that will bring the number of projects up to close to 50. So we're doing actually quite well. my target would be for the whole program to be around 20 million, which would be double what it was in the previous framework, which was Horizon 2020. So that's quite good. But one worrying trend in terms of applications is the number of successful projects that we're in has dropping slowly. That sort of is reflected in the number of applications going up. So there's more submissions, more competition. So it's a bit harder to get into projects. So just looking back on projects, there was a request for information on projects that are funded. Eddie mentioned about the dashboard. So this is sort of the logos from 10 projects, 10 Irish coordinated projects. And quite a diverse range of projects and a diverse range of participants. So we have energy agencies, SMEs, research organizations, public bodies, councils, technical universities. So for example, up on the top left there, you'll see BUSI 2030. So that was a project around business build up skills. You're going to stop me?
Yes.
In mid-flow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's do that again.
The start.
I know they could hear you. They just say it's that.
Okay.
Left that on. You should be able to see it now.
From the top, let's start there.
See.
Okay, so back. Yeah, so these are the logos of projects that are coordinated by Irish partners. There's a range of projects. So for example, up on the top left there, it's a Build Up Skills project. This is a project that was actually, I think it was Limerick Institute of Technology, which is now, I can't remember what it is now, it's TUS, I think. They were around Build Up Skills. They work with the Irish Green Building Council. That project finished actually in 2024, and now the BUS United is a follow-on project by TUS and a load of EU partners. The LEAP project there at the top, that's a project by up in the northwest of Ireland. It's under the Setting Up Energy Agencies. So it has Sligo Institute and a load of councils, Leitrim, Sligo, Donegal, etc. So they're putting in energy projects up there. The Stepwise project is a project by an SME, IES, they're based here in Dublin. That's a project looking at the digital tools for public authorities. TRESS is a project by Tipperary Energy Agency, and that's looking at upgrading public buildings. So you can see there's quite a lot of projects. One of the latest projects is the HERO project. It's an energy retrofit company, and they're looking at sort of streamlining the one-stop shop process for contractors. So quite a lot of projects across the board, but quite a lot of diverse partners in the project. So, and that's the beauty of the Life CET is it's, just, these are not research projects and they're not even big demo projects. They're coordination support actions, which is really about networking and market uptake. So just to get on to the current call. So it's open, it opened in April. The deadline is the 16th of September. It's a one-stage proposal. As I said earlier, the beauty of it is 95% funding plus 7% overheads. So that's quite an attractive thing to begin with. Over on the left there, you'll see the call document, Life Clean Energy Transition. if you're interested in putting a proposal, you really need to download the call document. It's 75 pages. I have a copy there that I frequently use. That's quite important. The EU ran a number of information days at the end of April, and one of the days covered the clean energy transition. So what they did was they had 3 or 4 hours of presentations about the call and the context of the call, but also they made available a video for each topic. So there's actually 13 topics under the clean energy transition. There's a video available for each topic, which is about 15 minutes long. It goes through the topic and, you know, what's the requirements. And actually there's a second video for a lot of the topics that talk about the policy behind where the topics come from. And the links here, the presentations will be available, so you can use these links to get access to those, but they're very important. I only have a half an hour to present the whole lot that they took a whole day to do, so it's quite necessary to go back and look at those particular presentations. So the difference between the clean energy transition and the other parts of the LIFE program is the clean energy transition are really top-down topics. So each topic is about 2 pages. It's the content of what there is required is laid out. There's, you know, there's the scope of the project, there's what the project is expected, there's the impacts expected, and there's the key indicators that are needed. So it's a really top-down type focus that you have to put into your proposal. And each year, if you look at the last few years and you pick maybe, for example, the one-stop shop topic, you might think it's a repeat each year, but there are subtle changes within the context of each call. So it's very important to look at the 2026 topics, because some topics, even though they look quite similar in title, will have differences compared to last year. And all those differences come from EU strategy. So we're now into, like Mario Draghi gave a report, everybody's probably heard of it on the news, a competitiveness report. The result of that is a new initiative from the Commission around a clean industrial deal, and then, you know, electrification action plans, grid packages. So there's a lot of strategies. Then there's the decarbonisation strategies, Fit for 55, the energy directives, the renewable directives. They've all been upgraded, and those upgrades are then reflected in the topics. So the requirements of the topics actually fit what the strategies are. So it's quite important to look at those particular ones. So for example, the Renewable Energy Directive, that was upgraded in maybe 3 years ago now, and that went from 32% renewables up to 42% renewables target for up to 2030. So when the Commission changed their directives and their strategies, they like to filter this into the various programs, so it comes down into Horizon Europe and into the LIFE program. And then one of the newer ones, I think it was only launched a few weeks ago, is Accelerate EU. So this is very much focused on citizens, cheaper electricity, less fossil fuels, etc. So again, the Accelerate EU looks at mobilising investment, accelerating the rollout of clean energy technologies and services, empowering citizens. That's quite important for the Commission. It's sort of, that's also part of the research agenda. It's about empowering citizens and supporting policy implementation at all levels. So for the LIFE clean energy transition in 2026, they've broken that into sort of 6 particular areas. So one area is focusing on policy. The next area is looking at local and regional investment projects. Then there's one looking at finance projects. There's a section on capacity for industry and digitalization. And then there's one looking at buildings and building skills. And then there's the section on empowering citizens in the clean energy transition. So these are, in the clean energy transition really is market uptake. They're sort of, you know, they're very much market uptake topics. So it's about developing and spreading best practice, mobilizing investments, improving skills, etc. So this is a list of the 13 topics. 95% funding, as I said. You can see that they're grouped into the sections I just mentioned. So the first 3 topics are very much around helping national authorities implement policy and implement the directives that the Commission have published. Then there's the better renovations and the build-up skills around buildings, and then the one-stop shop, PDA and Empower are around local projects. Actually, a question I get asked every year is about funding. So most of these topics require 3 partners from 3 different countries. So you can see it's written there on the right. So for the first topic, it's an EU consortium that's needed and a minimum of 3 partners from 3 different countries. Now, in reality, most projects will probably have around 8, maybe up to 10 partners per project, depending on, so each partner then will focus on one of the particular areas from the call text, which is quite detailed, as I mentioned earlier, that it's top-down type text. So now you can get a project over the line with just a bare minimum of 3 partners, but it's rare. You can see the budget available per topic. So in the first topic there, they have 6.5 million. They expect the EU funding of around 2 million, so maybe 3, maybe 4 projects to be funded per topic. Some topics are a bit odd. So, for example, the Empower project, that has 6 million, but they're only going to fund 1 project, and I have a slide on that and explain that. So you put your consortium together, and the beneficiaries in that consortium get the funding. A question I get asked quite a lot is around financial support to third parties. So a lot of projects, especially community energy projects, would like to give some funding to maybe other community groups to help them maybe doing audits or stuff like that. That's actually not allowed under a lot of the EU programs. Unless you're in the project as a beneficiary, you're not allowed to get funding from the project. Now, there's one exception. That's the Empower project, or topic that I'll mention a bit later. So the next, I have 13 slides. So I have 1 slide per topic. I just picked out the more pertinent parts of the topic. There's quite a lot in each topic. So, if you are targeting a topic, you're going to have to really read it in depth and look at the videos, etc. So the first topic is one of the policy topics. So it's heating and cooling plans. So supporting the delivery of actionable, integrated, comprehensive local heating and cooling plans. Now, this comes from the Energy Efficiency Directive. As I mentioned earlier, all these directives influence the content. So the Energy Efficiency Directive have made member states now comply with getting local authorities to develop up heating and cooling plans. So this particular topic is there to support that particular area. Now, it's not just about getting the finance to do the heating and cooling plans, it's all about getting actionable plans. So the proposal will have to set up an idea to analyze the situation, look at the finance, transfer the skills, and then they empower the local and regional authorities in creating lasting and institutionalized planning and governance framework. So very much a policy type topic. And you probably see people like maybe SCAI looking at this topic as well. This is the second policy topic towards an effective implementation of key legislation in the field of sustainable energy. Now, a lot of the topics have a number of scopes. And this particular one has 2 different scopes. So in most cases, you either target one scope or the other. So here you are targeting scope A, which is looking at Energy Efficiency Directive, or scope B, which is the Performance of Buildings Directive. So for example, under the Energy Efficiency Directive, there's a requirement now in there that to look at the energy efficiency first principle. So what they mean there is that instead of just rolling out loads of new energy projects, you should look at a situation and try and improve the energy efficiency of the situation. So look at the demand response and what's already in situation, or maybe renovating buildings with more insulation, etc. So there's a big requirement around energy efficiency first response. So putting a proposal in here could be targeting that particular area. So again, it's about understanding and practical knowledge for public administration and more effective and consistent implementation of the legal provisions. So again, very much a policy type topic. Minimum 3 partners from 3 different countries required there. So we move on to the third policy topic, which is the renewable heating and cooling. So this is strengthening national frameworks for renewable energy efficiency, heating and cooling. So again, the new strategies talk about more heating and cooling. I think something like 50% of final energy in the EU is required for heating and cooling in mostly residential and buildings. So proposals are to look at the barriers, look at the upfront costs, look at issues like split incentives. And nowadays we can see the high price for electricity, and that's reflected in the lower use of heat pumps. So the proposal here is to look at the new finance methods to support more heating and cooling. And then there's stipulations in the text about the number of countries that has to be in each proposal. So again, specific detail required for these topics. So the better renovation topic, this is one of the topics around the buildings. So energy renovation solutions, building renovation through effective markets and instruments. So again, two scopes. You look at either scope A, which is scaling up high quality and competitive energy renovations, or you look at scope B, which is strengthening the information instruments. And there's a list of instruments there, such as energy performance contracts, smart readiness indicator, building logbooks, passports for buildings, etc. So there's quite a lot of digital tools out there that can be used in the building renovation systems. So Scope E is looking at using those tools or getting the market uptake of those tools. And then Scope A is about actually increasing renovation rates and talking with stakeholders who are involved in doing the renovation. And during if you get funded, the project has to actually do a real life building renovation project, and you use those buildings as part of the validation service. So the next topic is an industry topic, supporting the clean energy transition of European industries. So two scopes again. So the first scope, Scope A, is about, basically it's looking at a specific industry and marrying that with technology providers. So if you look at it, you could look at, for whatever example, a cement industry, look at the cement industry, look at the situation that they're in, what areas they're lacking, and then link them up with specific energy providers. It could be more renewable providers, it could be new electrification systems, etc. So Scope A is about marrying industry with providers. Scope B is about looking at industries in a particular geographical proximity, and then getting those industries to work together, maybe maybe share assets, etc. Excuse me. And actually, I've highlighted in red because we had a few weeks ago there was a new port strategy from the EU, and this particular Scope B includes the word ports, which comes from the strategy. And again, I know in Ireland, people like ESB are talking to Waterford Port about doing some work in this particular area. So Scope B is about looking at industries in a particular area, getting them to talk together, getting them maybe to look at different financial schemes, etc. So the Build Up Skills, actually we'll skip over that. Build Up Skills this year is for countries that don't have a national skills program update. Ireland updated their program last year or the year before, so we're not eligible this year. The digital topic is quite interesting in that it's the first time we see this digital topic under the LIFE CET. It's about smart digitalization for distribution system operators. So this topic really is for ESB networks. Again, 3 applications from 3 different countries. It talks about, like in Ireland, we only have 1 distribution system operator, but across Europe, there's something like 2,500 DSOs. Some countries, I think I was reading about Austria. In some regions of Austria, they have half a dozen DSOs, and a lot of them are at different levels of digitalization. So this topic is about supporting them upgrade and maybe increase best practice, etc. This is a topic on private finance. So one of the lacking areas for the Commission is that not enough private finance comes into energy projects. So this particular topic is looking at crowding in private finance. So basically you look at increasing private finance in the implementation of energy efficiency and renewables. You can't just do renewables alone in this particular topic. It has to be very much focused on energy efficiency with some renewables. And then it's about putting in a financial scheme and then actually having contracts set up before the end of the project. So there's quite a lot of detail there. And you can actually work with private authorities, also public authorities, and sort of getting a mishmash of people working together to bring in more private finance. We actually have a few projects in that in Ireland over the years. This is quite a popular topic in Ireland. It's the one-stop shop topic. It's quite important for the Commission as well, in that it's now listed under the Energy Efficiency Directive and the Energy Performance of Buildings Directive. And there's a document, there's a link there, as you can see, that is, I think it's about 30 pages of what they see as best practice for one-stop shops. So if you're doing a topic, if you're doing a proposal in this area, you should really refer to this particular document. You see on the right, the image on the right looks at the different areas that the one-stop shops should be looking at. So it's analysing the situation, bringing in contractors, coming up with a finance scheme, setting up the work, implementing the work, and then actually validating the work and looking at a quality control aspect. So it's not just giving out information. It's about structured projects to come up with actual number of could be resident. In this particular case, you can do residential buildings owned by physical person or owned by professional landlord, or you can look at tertiary buildings where SMEs occupy and work from. This is a project development assistance. Yeah, this is an interesting topic in that it's odd in that the Commission here, if they give you €1 million to do the project, they expect €10 million to be spent down the line if it's in residential area, or 15 million. So it's a leverage type project, 15 to 1 for industry, 10 to 1 for residential projects. You can see the particular areas there on the image on the bottom left that can be covered. So it's fairly broad in that it's buildings, renewables, mobility, etc. So there's a broad number of areas that can be coming under the scope. But the presentation by the project officer during the info days basically emphasized these particular points. They want traceable evidence at proposal stage around the leverage funding. And this is probably where most proposals fall down. It's quite a popular topic because it's effectively you can do what you want, but you have to nearly guarantee that the funding is attainable and will be spent. It doesn't have to be during the lifetime of the project itself. It can go into the next few years, but where this actual 10 to 1 funding is coming from needs to be well defined in the proposal. And if you can't really do that, you should look at one of the other topics, maybe the one-stop shop or the better renovation topics. So I mentioned this earlier, this is the Empower project. They have 6 million, and really what it is, it's for one big project to get together, look at capacity building, peer-to-peer learning, financial support for local authorities. And what's going to happen here is they'll pick a proposal, they'll give them the 6 million, and then that project will have to spend about 70% of the 6 million on smaller projects for various local authorities across Europe. So it's very much a broad European type project to support local authorities, do clean energy solutions. And then the local authorities will get up to €60,000 per call. So again, an interesting project, but again, broad EU consortium will be needed. The energy poverty topic, alleviating household energy poverty in Europe. 2 scopes here again. Scope A is coordination support for public authorities and stakeholders. The second scope looks at facilitating residential multi-apartment building renovation. So two quite different projects here will be, proposals will be required, and you either tackle A or B. And again, there's a focus on energy poor districts and households, demonstrate concrete involvement of all the relevant actors. So if you're doing a proposal around energy poverty, you're going to have people who can actually interact in those specific areas. So if you're doing something in a sort of a local authority housing project, you're going to have the local authority committed to the project. They don't have to actually be part of the proposal, but you're going to have to get something like letters of support to say, look, we're going to be able to implement this if the project is funded. So there's a lot of information around. There's the Energy Poverty Advisory Hub from the Commission, and each country has an Energy Poverty Advisory Hub information package. So the link there for Ireland can be looked at and see what's the sort of the gaps, etc. And maybe influence on what you put in your proposal. The ENERCOM project is so facilitating cooperation among energy communities. Again, two scopes. Scope A is around what they're calling second level communities. So that really is a coalition of energy communities. So there's lots of energy, like in Ireland, I think if you go on the SEAI website, they have 800 energy communities. But how many of those are actually active? I'd say quite few. And it's the same across Europe. There's quite a lot of, there's 8,000 across Europe, but they're all focused on very small and mainly on PV. So this particular topic is sort of to get them working together and maybe spread out the specific areas that they're interested in. And scope B is about looking at renewable heating and cooling, energy efficiency, flexibility of service, and electromobility. So specific areas in scope B, and in scope A, it's about getting various energy communities to work together. So on to the actual proposal. So that's a quick, speedy run through of the 13 topics. I know there was quite a lot there, but I'm quite happy to talk to people afterwards or down the line specifically about a topic of interest. We go into the detail. And I know one of the questions was, is there any information available on projects? There's tons of information. So the Commission have funded, so just for example, on the PDA topics alone, they've been funding projects around PDA for 10 years, and I think they've up around 1,000 projects. So there's quite a lot of information already available, and I'm happy to sort of pinpoint where you can find those. So on to the proposal, similar to what Gustavo mentioned, you go to the funding and tenders portal, you pick your topic, you scroll down, you start a submission, and you start online in part A, which is the administrative part. Everything is filled in online. You download a template, which is 65 pages. You fill that in. And then also online, you fill in part C, which are the life performance indicators, or what we would have called KPIs. They keep changing names, but it's the old KPIs. And then you have a section on each participant information. So it's like a CV for the participants. And then there's a budget table. There's an Excel sheet. When you download the template, you'll also download the Excel and you fill that in and you upload everything. And for letters of support, you can upload those into the optional annexes. Gustavo showed this particular image earlier. So the deadline is September. It'll take 5 months for evaluation. So results will come out February 2027. If you're selected for funding, then you go into a grant agreement, which takes about 3 months. So you're talking about starting July at the earliest 2027. Proposals are evaluated on 4 different areas. So relevance to the topic, impact of your project, quality of your idea and your project management, and the resources, the partnership, etc. And you have to score at least 55 out of 90. Impact is weighted, similar to the other parts of the LIFE program. Impact is weighted 1.5 times. So you have to score 55 out of 90. I shouldn't have showed our scores. That's part of it. You won't be getting that in the presentation, and you'll have to delete that picture. But anyway, yeah, it's you know, it's getting tougher to score, you know, to get funding in these particular areas. So as I mentioned, impact is weighted 1.5 times. So when it comes to the impact, there's quite a lot of detail there. So there's 3 types of impacts really. So there's the life clean energy transition impact. So each project will have to look at the primary and final energy use. So that's gigawatt hours. So you're going to have to put in detailed information on where these figures are coming out from. Whereas renewable energy generation, greenhouse gas reduction, and the investments. So they're the common life indicators for the clean energy transition. Then you'll have specific indicators for your own project. So you could be doing something quite unique and you'll have your own indicators. And then each topic, when you read the topic text, will have a list of 10 impacts that they're interested in. Now, you may not have to do all 10, say, for your particular project, but there's quite a lot of detail that you will need. So 3 sections of impacts: project specific, topic specific, and common life indicators. And down at the very bottom, it says ambitious but credible. And that's quite important. They really have to be ambitious projects because the EU have funded quite a lot of projects in the, you know, under the LIFE program and under Horizon 2020 and the clean energy transition. So they don't want to just keep refunding projects just to fund a project. They're really looking for sort of something innovative, which is ambition. But when you put your impact indicators in your proposal, they also have to be believable. So the evaluators will have to say the greenhouse gas reduction figures are believable, they're good, they're ambitious, but they have to be believable. And that means you're going to have to give a sort of a structure on how you came up with those particular figures in the proposal. So I think this is my last slide. The funding and tenders portal is available. There's a call documents. As I mentioned at the start, there's a CET call document. It's 75 pages. You should really need to download that. And there is a FAQ document. It's a PDF format for the LIFE program. They keep updating that, and they'll update that even quite close to the deadline, and there'll be sections per topic. So it's a good idea to keep an eye on that particular one. When you're putting a proposal together, and I know Gustavo mentioned this at the end of his presentation, does your proposal cover the scope of one of the topics? Is it clear? Is there a clear starting point? What's the baseline, as Gustavo mentioned? You need to know where you're starting, you need to know who you're targeting, and you need to know what impacts you're putting in there, so you have specific targets to reach during the project and afterwards. Actually, one point I forgot to mention, I'll just go back to it here. There is a sentence in each topic that says the results and impacts should be quantified for the end of the project and for the 5 years after the end of the project. So that's quite an important line in each topic. So as well as you doing the project for 3 years, you're going to have to define exactly what's happening after the project. So for 8 years, and you need to put reasonable, believable and credible figures for the 8 years. Because really what the Commission wants is they want this stuff to run afterwards. After they're funding it, they want it to run on. So that's quite important. Let's go back here. And then build a good consortium. So specific roles must be reflected in the allocation of resources. So a lot of these topics are 3 partners from 3 countries. As I said, you probably will have, most projects will have 8, 9, 10 partners from 5, 6 countries. And each partner will have a specific role and a specific budget. Work packages need to be integrated, avoid high-level descriptions. So there's a section for the workmanship, for the work packages in the actual template, and that should be just work package information. So you should have a task, a deliverable, and a milestone, quite clear, specific, and well presented. And don't start filling in those sections with stuff that you could put into the methodology area. So it's quite important to have a well-structured proposal in terms of the work packages to get the actual project done. And that's evaluated separately and it gets scored. And again, ambitious but credible. Resubmissions, it's actually part and parcel of the LIFE CET program is, I think, about 20 to 30% are resubmissions. Now, as I mentioned earlier, the topic changes each year. So if you submitted last year and you want to resubmit again to the same title topic, just be careful that there's probably some changes to the text within the topic, and make sure you have those well covered. And everything is available on the public dashboard. It's a real good source of information. So that's me. Okay for time?
Something going anywhere. And again, if there's any questions in the room, but there's two on Slido. There you go. For everyone in the room anyway, the first one is, which part of CET is best suited to local authorities, if any? So I'll let you.
So there's specific topics that target policy, and they're all focused on local authorities and helping local authorities target specific areas. So you could actually look at nearly most topics you could have local authorities involved. It really depends what the local authority want to actually do. So, you know, you'd really need to know the detail of what the local authority wants to focus on before we point them off to a specific topic. But every topic is really open to local authorities. These are all market uptake topics. So it's about rollout. It could be rollout of technology or rollout of best practice or education, etc. So, I mean, every topic should be looked at. Is there a crossover between the CET and the EU Bauhaus? It's not actually mentioned in this year's call, but yes, I know Gustavo mentioned. So the European Bauhaus is an initiative. It's actually Ursula von der Leyen's baby, so it's reflected in every part of the EU programs. EU Bauhaus is about living spaces. So the Green Deal is the EU strategy for climate neutrality by 2050 for the EU. But for most citizens, that's a lot of rubbish. They're not interested in 2050. So they try to put a focus for people, and the EU Bauhaus is about living spaces. So when you're doing a project on energy and you're doing buildings, you should take into account the principles of the EU Bauhaus, which is about a good living space, sustainable, beautiful. They use the word beautiful in there, and sustainable. So the focus of the EU Bauhaus is reflected across all EU programs. And even though it's not actually mentioned in this year's CET program, it could be part of the buildings topic, or it could be part of the one-stop shop about doing spaces, living spaces, etc. So yeah, it is linked to it, yeah.
Any questions in the room? Yeah.
Thanks for that presentation. I think one of there's much scope for how to integrate the other requirements of strategic environmental assessment, life cycle analysis, cost benefit analysis. Say, for example, then would it help to use project management techniques like critical path methods, the Gantt charts, the PARA methods, the PERT methods? Are any of these mentioned at all in these projects?
Well, when you start putting a proposal together, all those are actually needed. So when you download the template, you'll see it asks for your PERT charts, your Gantt charts, your project management charts. If you're doing a project on building renovation, life cycle analysis comes into it. So yeah, all those methods, actually they're all accepted as part of a project now. And it's like quality. It's inherent. You don't have to keep mentioning quality. It should be just inherent in a project. But yeah, when you actually look at the template itself, it talks about those particular areas. But they also work for any part in the other parts of the LIFE program, in the biodiversity projects, and then in Horizon Europe, again, they're specifically detailed.
Someone.
Oh, yeah. Claire, if you want to unmute and ask her question.
Hi there. Thanks very much for the presentation. There's a lot there, a lot of different angles and considerations. I did circulate this presentation around to our own in-house staff, but it's difficult for them to maybe relate this to their own day-to-day activities. I'm kind of thinking, how have you any tips, I suppose, or hints on how I would present this to our own management team? You know, what in relation to, I suppose, particularly local authority service delivery. Should I say to the management team that maybe to look at their infrastructure projects or look at their data gaps or even financial potentials? Is there any way that you would suggest that a local authority would present this to management?
Local authorities have to do this stuff anyway. They have to do green projects, they have to do more renewables, they have to do community engagement. So this EU type funding is basically value added. So you've presented as value added to what they actually have to do. And if you want, I'll come and talk to your management. You actually have to put in a proposal. If you are coordinating one of these as a local authority, you're going to need buy-in from upstairs. There's no doubt about that. And some local authorities I find are more advanced than others. So for example, Cork Council, they've been at this for years, but they have buy-in from all the way up to the top management in Cork Council, and they have lots of projects across all different funding programs. They have Interreg, Life, Horizon, other EU national projects. So your senior management really have to buy in and use it as a tool to do what they have to do anyway, because we know direct funding might be a difficulty for local authorities and getting resources. And you can see, like CET doesn't fund capital costs, but it funds people. So it's a way of getting a project to bring in more people for the council or for the local authorities. So it's value added stuff that you have to do. So, and as I said, I'm happy to come and talk to any group and present specific topics. Or if I know you're interested in stuff, try and link you up with projects that will be up and running. So I know later we have a call out for people who are putting proposals in, so we can try and link up people to those people who are planning to put in proposals. So that's another method we can use.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Claire, and thanks so much, Philip. And as I said, we'll be around afterwards anyway if you have any questions. So next up is I nearly outdid your applause. So next up anyway is Neil Wilkie from Elmen, and he'll just discuss his social role. So Neil gets to work with all the successful projects, which is always nice. I'm quite jealous actually, Neil, so thank you.
So next line. Yeah. That one, yeah. Okay. 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 Thanks, Kieran. Thanks, Aidan. Hello, everyone. I'm, as Aidan said, I'm Neil Wilkie, and yeah, I do have a pretty good job. I have the privilege of monitoring successful projects, or I should say, projects that have successfully applied, that don't necessarily turn into successful projects, but I do have quite an overview of what is a good project, and I've done this job for far too long to mention. So what is my job? So yeah, I'm part of the monitoring team. One of the unique things of the LIFE programme, well, perhaps not that unique, but what the LIFE programme has been very good at is there is a role of a monitoring team which sits between the project and the commission, or SINEA as it is now. And the role of Elmen is essentially twofold. It's advisory,
we're here to help. We want you to succeed. The Commission wants you to succeed. Also, we have a role in evaluation, in assisting the Commission with the evaluation of a project's progress and ultimately its final delivery. So that essentially is our role. It's so ELMEN is contracted by SENEA to perform this role, and we are currently towards the end of a 4-year contract for this. Who we are. That's not all of us. There's actually about 160 of us, because this is across the EU, across the entire programme. But each team, each part of Europe has its own mini team. So I'm part of the UK and Ireland team. It's still called that because we still have some legacy UK projects. And there's 5 in our team. Some of you might know some of these people who monitor some Irish projects and some UK projects. So we have Lynn Barrett, Hannah Fenton, myself, Karen Loonan, Lauren Jeffries. So we have a specialist knowledge on a range of topics. Some of us will be stronger in nature projects, some will be stronger in environment, some will be stronger in climate. And that's how we are allocated projects. As I said, we do we evaluate the performance and your results. We should have a deeper understanding of your project than SENEA will. For example, Gustavo could have 30 or 40 or 50 projects in his portfolio, whereas I have 8 or even less sometimes. So we dig deeper and obviously advise Gustavo and his colleagues in SENEA on how you're doing. So as I said, each project is assigned a monitor. I personally get assigned mainly, almost exclusively, life and nature projects. Some of these obviously are standard projects, traditional projects we call them. Some are the strategic projects. And now obviously we're limited to Ireland. Obviously we had UK for a long time. So we now, the 5 of us are sharing Irish projects. Somebody asked earlier, it would be good to see the list of successful Irish projects. I don't have the total list, and you can, as I think Adrian advised, you can look that up. But here's a list of the current, pretty sure this is up to date, the current list of open life projects. And you can see the Strand and the TMO, the Technical Monitoring Officer, associated with each one. And you also get a feel for who are the coordinating beneficiaries, who so far or currently are the main players. So in the nature side of things, the strategic side of things, Department of Housing through NPWS are obviously the main player there. But we also have Mayo County Council, local authority. We have some SMEs, more so in the environment sector. We have Bord na Móna, obviously a big strategic project, and so on. So now, just because you're not in any of these sectors, it doesn't mean to say you're not appropriate for a life project. Remember, these are the coordinating beneficiaries. Now, some of you might not be suitable to be a coordinating beneficiary. These are the bigger organizations with often state bodies with the capacity, the financing that could carry a big project. But a lot of these projects have smaller organizations as associated beneficiaries who play a very important role. So I suppose that would be a little message that I'd like to get through. If you're a smaller organization, even a community group or a small SME, or I don't know, just a smaller, an interest group, pressure group, you're not out of the picture in the LIFE program. You obviously need help. You need to team up with others. And that's obviously where the partnership development comes. Yes, you can get projects that are a single beneficiary. They're usually fairly big. They're fairly a big beneficiary. And some very successful projects, I'm trying to think of one off the top of my head. The Living Bog was a single beneficiary on Irish Raised Bogs. It was a Department of Housing project, no partners. It delivered an excellent project, very good impact and so on. But to be honest, most of the best projects are partnerships because obviously that gives you a bigger spread, a bigger formal involvement of other stakeholders, which is usually very, very important. There was another question about international partners. Absolutely no problem. Absolutely no problem. I think there is, Gustavo might check me on this, but I think you get extra points for an international partner. Is that right? It used to be like that. Perhaps not. Yes, yes. It's not particularly common in Irish projects, but other EU project, other LIFE projects across the EU, you can have 5 or 6 or 7 different member states in a LIFE project. So yeah, so obviously, for example, if there was a habitat that was obviously common across the EU, you know, sand dunes or something like that, there would be a lot of logic to upscale this to involve other partners in other member states. But anyway, so that's just a flavour what's the current scene in the LIFE programme in Ireland. So yeah, we're back to who am I again? So yeah, so we're a consortium. It's specifically we do one thing, and that is, well, actually, we have a number of things, but it's primarily monitoring LIFE projects. We also do network events and some other things. But our bread and butter is monitoring LIFE projects. We've actually been doing this for a long time. Some of you may have heard of other acronyms for us. Previously, we were NEMO. Previous to that, we were Australia. So we kind of reinvent ourselves, but broadly I personally have been doing this since the last 16 years. So it's been going for a while. So we do have a huge amount of expertise in that regard. 7 partner firms, that's changed from time to time. We are currently Particip UK, which is actually a German company. But so that's who we are currently. The coordination of LMEN comes from Brussels, but our headquarters is actually in Freiburg in Germany. And another key partner in LMEN is Ernst & Young, is EY, who do all our finance and monitoring. So when you are, when you sign the grant agreement, you're assigned a technical monitor and a financial monitor. The financial monitor is from EY, and the technical monitor is obviously from LMEN. Okay. So the obviously a very common tool now for advisory and assistance is the help desk. This has only been going a few years with us, and it's, you know, your standard generic email mailbox. You nominate up to 2 people from your project who have access to this, and your queries will be about the administration of your project, something financial, something technical, contractual, and the ticket is raised. You will get a response within 2 days. Ultimately, it will come from, if it's technical, it will come from the TMO. If it's financial, the FMO. It has actually worked quite well. The feedback we get is it's worked quite well. Personally, I preferred it when it was more ad hoc. It's up to the technical monitor. He or she can say, just send me an email, just give me a call. But you're not supposed to do that, and most of the TMOs, you know, can sometimes it gets too much work. But anyway, that's the formal way of asking advice. And if it escalates, then there may have to be an ad hoc meeting or something like that. And then you choose how you want to get your response. You can actually call for a Teams meeting or something, and you leave feedback. Right, so our bread and butter work with you, the approved project. First aspect is report and evaluation. So that's what I was talking about earlier. So you will report, you actually do report annually, but the big reports are the ones that are linked to payment, the ones that are going to trigger your next tranche of money. Remember, you will get a first tranche up front. You will then get, all being well, your second tranche at mid-term report stage. So once you've spent a minimum amount of the grant, you will submit what's called a mid-term report. All being well, you will get your next tranche, and then you get then the final report, obviously at the end. So LMEN does an evaluation of your reports and your deliverables associated with that, and SNEA do likewise. And between that, you get your report card, as it were. So this is the only time we'll evaluate your progress. There are plenty of examples of these reports. Obviously, it follows a template which you will download. The reports are obviously two aspects. One is the technical side of your progress, and secondly is the financial side. So the essentially it's a spreadsheet where you will record what you will have been doing, but then you will submit all your expenditure linked to the project, which was also foreseen in the budget. EY will evaluate that and check that it is linked to what was foreseen and so on. Will continue to be less frequently. Deliverables are only so your deliverables, which are your reports and action plans and so on. You will it's changed now. You will on an ongoing basis upload them to the portal, and they will be evaluated at the report stage, again by us and SNEA. Everything is obviously submitted electronically through that portal now, and again you're encouraged to leave feedback. So the other side of our assistance evaluation is through visits. So our missions, to use in EU parlance. So the monitor, just the technical monitor, usually will visit your project 3 times. Once at the beginning, say within the first few months, once you've recruited your team and you're up and running. So it's the monitor is giving you the briefing of what's expected and so on. Then the next visit will be at mid-term stage, in advance of you submitting that mid-term report, to help the monitor evaluate on the ground what you've achieved and issues arising and so on. And then the final one will be at the end, or just prior to the end of the project, before the final report. SNEA will visit you on one of those visits, most likely the midterm or the final one, to see for themselves. I'm not sure if I said this at the beginning. So when you're assigned a monitor, when you get your project, you're assigned your technical monitor, you're assigned your financial monitor. You're also, of course, assigned your SNEA technical project advisor, someone like Gustavo, and they have financial advisors. So they are all assigned on that side, and they will visit you. It's usually now just the technical advisor on one occasion. Options for a good proposal. I mean, I'm just going to be reiterating what both Philip and Gustavo said, but it's worth reiterating this, because this ultimately is what you have to do, is submit a good proposal. And anyway, this is my view on it from seeing a lot of projects over the years. And I'm starting with project duration, because that's often God, how long is a piece of string? How long is a life project? Most of them are too short. That is, I see that across the board, and almost don't know if I should be saying this, but the reality is projects ask for prolongations, which you can do, justified, but it doesn't have to be this way. If you get it right, your timeline should be enough to deliver it. And what are the reasons for that we see time and time again? Project manager hired late. Some projects, they don't hire, you know, till the end of year one. Now, obviously, that's not the way it's supposed to be. You should be starting, the whistle goes, the match starts, day one, we crack on with this. So I know it can be very difficult because obviously organizations need to know for sure that they've got the financing secured, and recruitment, of course, takes time. That's the process of recruitment. But my tip there would be, again, managing your risk, is that you you have the contingency that you will have someone who will be an interim project manager from day one covering it. And good projects usually do this. It might be the person who's actually done the application, so they know the project more than anyone. That person's not going to be the project manager, but they can still hold the baby until the mother is appointed. It's a bad metaphor, but anyway. So that is a very common weakness that I see to watch out for. Coordination effort with many partners. I said, oh, it's great to have lots of partners all over the EU and so on, but obviously that can cause more work, and more work can slow things down. So fewer the partners, perhaps the less the work. Again, you need to get that sweet spot between that. Very common one, changes in employees or partners. So the changes in employees, the staff turnover. Very common, you know, you're recruited on a contract. So once you get to year 4, year 5, you're seeing that, you know, your contract's coming to near an end, and people naturally look for perhaps new positions, and then the project's left high and dry. So again, good projects will have that built into their contingencies, their risk management, that look, it's not just the project team are delivering this project. There is a wider group who could hold it while they get someone else. Under resourcing, yeah, this is a huge one. This maybe comes up later, but yeah, the resourcing thing, financial resourcing, make sure you budget appropriately. Don't under budget. And linked to that, of course, is personnel, is human resources, resourcing. Make sure you are sufficiently staffed. See this all the time. You need, obviously, it goes without saying, a full-time project manager. Projects of, you know, any serious budget, you need a full-time finance manager. That might not be someone who's directly hired for the project. It could be someone seconded from an existing organization. Nature projects, more and more, the good projects have staff on community engagement. It's an absolute what's the word? It's a must, I think, in a lot of these nature projects where the projects need to immerse themselves in the communities. And there's some wonderful examples of projects in Ireland at the moment. The Corncrake project, the Macker project, Loch Cara in the west, where that projects, the sites in Donegal, where that immersion of staff in the community, speaking Irish usually, makes such a difference. So consider that community engagement. I have seen projects in the UK now where SENEA will fund for that, because they get it. It's not, you cannot restore the environment if you do not have the people on board. It's a bit of a cliche, but it's true. So you know, be mindful of that. External factors that affect project duration, approval processes. I think Gustavo mentioned this. Absolutely, permits and licensing. I've seen projects stall for so long. Planning permissions, classic one, of course. So be So be aware of the timeline in that. And this is, of course, could be assisted with ensuring the statutory body are at the very least in the partnership or possibly an actual beneficiary. They need to be on board, basically. But yeah, it can take time, particularly with perhaps new bits of legislation. So everyone's kind of tiptoeing around. If you know that's very important. I mean, obviously, the procurement can take a while, and you know, in this day and age, you know, the availability of you know, goods and services is so much stretched. So be mindful of that. Seasonal limitations, particularly in nature projects. You know, really wet winters or cold winters or whatever. Again, that's managing your risk. Well, I just said weather there. Supply chains, yeah, in the procurement. Pandemics, hopefully we won't get one of them for a while, but you know, that's the kind of thinking that we now have to do these days. Project management, well, I mean, this, yes, the LIFE project is like no other, is like all, it's like any project. Good project managers are using their project management tools, beyond your Gantt charts and so on. That is encouraged. If you're not using these things, they're usually weak projects. I've talked about risk already. Again, good projects would have a strong mitigation plan. All partners are aware of this. All partners are all in this together. That's another thing. Some associate beneficiaries say, well, we're okay because the coordinating beneficiary are carrying this, and you know, we can just, you know, take it easy. There's no pressure on us. No. They're all in this together. So make sure everyone is aware of that. At the beginning, you are expected, you're required to have a partnership or consortium agreement for each project between all the partners, so that, yeah, that's a formal agreement, right, guys? We're all in this together. This is my role. This is how much money you're going to get. This is how much money I'll get, and so on. I talked about the resources, human and financial resources. Very, very important. Milestones and deliverables, so it's basic project management. Know the difference. It's amazing some projects still get that mixed up. Don't have too many. But yeah, that's how you monitor your own progress. Yeah, this one, objectives, don't overpromise, keep them realistic, but be ambitious. This is a classic sweet spot one, isn't it? That if there's no ambition, then next, it needs to catch their eye. Wow, that's what I like to hear. It's bang on these EU policies. Yep, tick. They are proposing to make a real impact. And that was a word Gustavo used repeatedly. That's the ones that they will fund. They've got a limited, as we all do, a limited budget, and they're thinking, you know, am I going to give 5 million to this project? Who'll do one little site here? I don't know if that's great value for money for us. But no, this project has teamed up with 3 other partners, and in total will do 80% of that habitat in the EU. You know, I mean, that's a hitter. But yeah, be eye-catching, be ambitious, balanced by keep it real, keep them realistic, because, and this is a big point, you will be evaluated bluntly on achieving your objectives. So get your objectives absolutely right, and you will actually first say, right, did you achieve your objectives? And demonstrate it, yes, and so on. And we can say, yes, that's absolutely fine. If you fall short in achieving your objectives, then the project may not get the full grant in certain circumstances. So it's a very important one. Coherence, yeah, the work packages need to fit together well. So you have your preparatory actions and so on, which will logically follow into the other ones. Again, sustainability, yeah, this again is massive. That LIFE projects are supposed to mostly, I mean, there are some exceptions, but it's to kickstart something, or to take the ball and run with it and then pass it on to someone else. But there has to be an afterlife plan. That actually is a requirement for all life projects. Right, you've finished it, well done. You've done really well, you spent the money, delivered your objectives. But actually, a fundamental kind of part of your objectives is what's next, what is following. And so that's very, very important. And the good projects, and there have been many brilliant projects in Ireland who have gone on. And it's not necessarily just for that site or the sites it worked on, but it replicated. That's another big, big thing. It replicated what they are doing to, and I mean, there's I think the best example with Life Nature in Ireland was the Burren project, 30 odd years ago, which was a life project, which replicated the whole theme of results-based payment schemes and high nature value farming. And since then, there have been a series of not just life projects, EIP projects, and ultimately the Acre CP program is a results-based payment scheme, and that all was seeded by a life project and multiple other life projects. So replication, continuation, sustainability. If your proposal has none of that, sorry guys, you're not in the game. So be very mindful of that. Partners. So yeah, kind of covered a lot of this already. Have you got the right mix? If you are having partners, have you got the right mix? Too few, too many? The essential ones have the partnership agreement. Yeah. Are they aware of the deal? You know, what is expected of them administratively? So each partner will submit their own financial claim at midterm and final report and sign it off. Have they got the DOSH? Have they got the credentials? Or we're just little, we can't do anything. Yeah, but do you have the minimum amount of the financial credentials? And are they good for their contributions? Because remember, an associate beneficiary still has to make its own contribution, 40% usually, or yeah, around that. So are they good for that? And they've got to, do it, over the period of the project. So I think the usual way is when the tranches of money are received, it goes to the coordinating beneficiary, and then they dish it out basically. So they can then work out their own cash flows and so on. And yeah, if you have other member state partners, yeah, there could be challenges with that, with perhaps language, communications, and so on. Budget. Yeah, again, I think I touched on this earlier. Make sure you don't go too low with your budget. I know you might think, oh, I'm asking for too much, they'll kick us out, they'll reject us. There is a to and froing in the application stage, and sometimes you will get feedback saying, yeah, I quite like your application, but there's a list of things, a checklist, if you like, a snag list, that I want you to give me more information on. And quite often it is on costings. They might even say that seems a bit low. Shouldn't you be asking for more? So yeah, be mindful of that. And yeah, project management costs, financial management costs. So as I said earlier, make sure that that is resourced appropriately. So to the sections in the budget, durable goods and consumables, know the difference, because that's often confused. Durable goods would be things that would go in the asset register that would ultimately, for environment projects, would depreciate, and there's a calculation there. Consumables are things you consume that you throw away. Computers are durable goods, but stationery and stuff like that is consumables. And of course, inflation, you've got to think about that. These projects, so often I talk to people and they start with when we wrote the bid 10 years ago, things were so different, and now, God, the costs are through the roof. It's very difficult to crystal ball that one, but yeah, build it in. Cost increases, there's no contingency there. So yeah, deliverables are, I mean, you all know this, but just to be clear, our products are the reports, the action plans, training materials, videos that are submitted in PDFs usually, and or links to YouTube or whatever. And the milestones, as you know, are the stages reached. They're the critical ones for the project management. You know, 10 hectares out of 100 by year one, or whatever. Focus on the key deliverables. Keep it simple. Don't have them all at the end of the project. Oh yeah, we'll do that. You'll get it at the end. You know, honestly, you'll get it all at the end. No, that's a bit suspicious. You need to say by the end of year one, we will have achieved that milestone, and we will have submitted the action plan or something like that. I talked about this, the permits and permissions. Often they take long, well, they always take longer in my experience. So getting agreements from the authorities in advance, but proper agreements, not just, sure, it'll be grand agreements, proper agreements. And then you might want that authority on board as a partner. Cost of permits can escalate. Yeah, all eventualities, human resources. Yeah, here's one. If you are buying land, so a Life Nature project might have, because you can buy land through Life, say that this area of land, or we believe whatever, 10, 20 hectares of a bog or something, the idea would be to buy it, usually a state body like NPWS, and obviously run it as a sort of nature reserve. You know, you don't then find out, wonder who owns this. You need to prep yourself for that, because again, this is a contract, and if you say you're going to buy 20 hectares, you're going to buy 20 hectares. So mindful of that. And of course, yeah, the multiple ownership ones, which are so common. I'd be mindful of that. Oh, we're at the end. But so yeah, so there, I often try to evaluate this presentation that I give, and I'm thinking, are they now going, geez, don't know if life's for me. But I want to the overall message is it could be for you. It definitely could be for you. There is lots of sort of warnings, if you like, that are in there, but it's a very flexible program. And a lot of people say that it's a very flexible program. We have what's called amendments, and we spend a lot of time doing amendments. So projects can be prolonged at the project's request. Budgets can be shifted quite substantially if necessary. Objectives can even be tweaked if things change radically. Partners can go, and new ones can be found if there's a justification for a slight change in direction. So that's the flexibility that I think I always try to get that message across. Don't be fearful of, I'm trapped in a contract. Yes, you are in a contract, it's a grant agreement, but between Cinea and ourselves and yourselves is, we'll make this work. We can make this work as long as you do your bit, we do our bit, and so on. So, you know, don't be. I've never worked for any other program, so I'm just talking about Life. But you know, don't be too fearful on it. It is a very good program. Ireland has a great history in this program. It's maybe not done the most projects, but it's done, I would say, the most best projects. There have been so many awards for Irish projects, so I think we're pretty good at them. So yeah, be ambitious, but keep it real. Thank you.
We've just got a question, Neil, if you want to hold up. One thing that I will say, Neil, obviously he sees the other side, but at the beginning, I'm always telling projects, be more ambitious. We really undersell ourselves here in Ireland at the beginning. And, you know, I sort of joke, have notions, because you're going up against, you know, really tough competition across Europe, and they won't undersell themselves, so neither should we. Yeah, so there was a question online, Neil, is there any sanction for early completion if too large a buffer has been built in?
No, you can complete it. You can complete it early. Good luck.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you might even get a bonus point. I don't know. You know, you deliver what you do. I mean, here's the thing. If you find yourself flying it, and think, lads, we've got another year to play with here. That is where you would be expected to think, well, give us more. Give us more. We're not going to give you any more money, but you can crack on with your afterlife plan straight away. It's all about bang for your buck. Just on the prolongation thing, some projects will say we want a prolongation because we've got additional funding elsewhere, and we might have a wee bit of an underspend on the life side of things. So we've done 100% of our deliverables. We're going to do 110, 120, and numerous projects do that. They over deliver bonus points.
Yeah, perfect. Just whilst Kieran's, and thanks Neil again. Just whilst our next speaker's online, so just whilst Kieran's setting that up, like, just say to you, I think we got, it's either 49 or 51% of grant agreements get redone, and it's for length. And the best advice when we were applying for life ourselves is, whenever you think you're going to start, add at least 6 months on stat, and I should have added 9. And anyone who's dealing like with public bodies, we all know who works in local authorities or government departments, we know HR, it's not a quick process. So so whenever you think you are going to start, add a significant amount of time to that. That would be my bit of advice on it. But I'd just like to present now Christina, welcome Christina from The Wheel and her presentation. Thanks, Christina.
Yes, hi, happy to be here today. Kieran, do you have my presentation there? And would you be able to share it actually? That would be so helpful, because I'm experiencing some hiccups here with my laptop and I'm a little bit afraid. So I would just tell you what would be the next slide then. Is that possible?
Yeah, that's perfect.
That would be excellent. I could try, but I'm a little bit afraid that I will break it.
That's no problem.
Great.
Can you see
that looks good? Yes, exactly. I think you could even put it on full screen mode if possible, but I'm sure people can see that. So, okay, I will also be quick.
Okay.
So hi everyone, thanks first of all for having me today. My name's Christina and I'm a European Programs Officer at The Wheel, which is probably you know that Ireland's national association for the community and voluntary sector. And at the moment we represent about 2,300 members from the community and voluntary sector here in Ireland across a diversity of topics and working areas. So next slide, please. Oh yeah, thank you. So I would like to talk today about Access Europe, which is a program run and hosted by The Wheel. And Access Europe is a support and capacity building program for Irish civil society organizations to better access and manage EU funds. We're also here to support the ECC and other Irish national contact points to do their work, to promote their EU funding programs to the community and voluntary sector. And this is not only concerning life. So what we're doing is that we're also promoting SURF, we're promoting Erasmus+, Horizon Europe, Interreg, so everything that is out there and is accessible and relevant to civil society organizations, as this is our target group. Yes, thanks. So you see this here, yeah, we're basically a one-stop shop when it comes to all things EU funding related. This is our team. Currently, it's me and Emily Nelson. She's the European Programs Manager, and we are here. We're offering a range of supports and services, and I would like to talk about that now. Next slide, please. Yeah, and one more comment just on our target group, because we talk about civil society, but as you can see, we have a pretty broad definition of what that is. It includes NGOs, of course, and community-based organizations, but we also work with trade unions, with professional associations, social movements and networks. We work with media, academia, city and county councils, regional assemblies. So we spend most of our time, of course, supporting NGOs, community-based organizations, due to the nature of the Wheel's work, the work that we do, because this is like, these are our members, mainly of them. And also, that was mentioned before, traditionally, these are the types of bodies that tend to have more challenging time accessing EU funding. So that's why we're here actually to try to provide more services exactly for this group. However, what we do, our services and supports and information is applicable to all sectors and is freely available for everyone to access. And it's also increasingly important that all of these sectors within civil society are working together in EU-funded projects, taking a cohesive, multi-sectoral approach to tackling societal problems. We heard that before, actually, so I would second that, what has been said. And we definitely see that also as a part of our job, as enabling partnerships, network building between these various groups. And I'll talk about that a little bit later again. So next slide, please. Very quickly, our overview, what we have to offer, 4 key services. One is on providing information and resources. The second one is on running events and trainings online and in person. All of them are for free. We have a help desk support where we provide one-on-one advice. And then also we support network building, especially European partnership network building. Next slide. Yeah, and I mentioned that in terms of information, we have our Access Europe website. This is our one-stop shop. We have a whole EU funding guide on this website, which gives you an overview of the different EU funding programs. As I mentioned, not only LIFE, but also all the other EU funding programs. So maybe you're interested in that. Also on the policy objectives connected to those programs. We heard that before. This is also very important to know, actually, so that the funding aligns with these policies. Have a look. There's a lot of information and research on our website. Next page, please. What we also do on this website is that we include all the EU funding deadlines that are relevant to civil society. We also included the live calls at the moment, those that are actually relevant to community groups. Not all of them are as accessible. We heard that before. So we actually do the scanning and we decide, okay, these are actually targeting also civil society organizations. And also this is handy. So what we do here is that we also sort them by topic, because if you ever looked at the Commission's funding and tenders portal, you know that there are hundreds of funding calls to trawl through. So we've tried to make the process here a little bit easier to actually find the right funding call and to sort them by the area. Next slide. Yes, this is our newsletter. Very easy. You can sign up for this on our website. It's free, it's monthly, and we provide there more information also around events, any information around EU funding, again, across all programs out there. Next page. We also have a LinkedIn page. Again, please follow us there. We launched a series called Funding Fridays, where we spotlight actually different EU funding programs, priorities, objectives, so you can easily actually learn about other opportunities for your organizations out there. Next slide. And just to mention a little bit more about the trainings and events we offer, this is a variety of trainings throughout the year. They range from general introductions to EU funding to higher level events on integrating EU values into your daily work. We have a training series called Starting Your EU Funding Journey. So if you're new to that, it includes designing your EU project, building a new partnership, writing your EU funding application. Again, this is usually general, sometimes specific for some programs, but usually in general. And we record all of these events. You can check them out on our YouTube channel. Next slide, please. What we've also included in our website, because lots of people ask for that, is a new events and funding deadlines. So we offer events around EU funding. There are events like this today. Other stakeholders, national contact points, the European Commission, they offer webinars, info days, partner matchmaking, everything around EU funding that you can think of. And what we thought and also heard from our target group is it would be extremely helpful to actually have it all in one place. So what we did now here is that is a calendar. You find it on our website, and you can just go through, and then it also register for events, look through it, and find the event that is actually important for you at the moment. Next slide. And also, if this is of interest to you, we've created just now, very recently, an e-learning hub. It features actually 7 different modules, different trainings, resources that we've created over the past years in one central place. It contains tools, it contains templates. You can download everything, you can watch the trainings, you can make use of all the resources that we actually provide here in one place. Everything connected, also what we heard here now, a Gantt chart, a project concept note, a partner agreement. So all of that is in there and hopefully helpful for you on your EU funding journey. Yes, next page. As for the network building, we have our Access Europe Partner Days, partner database. You heard that EU-funded projects require some level of partnership with Irish partners or EU partners, and this can be pretty challenging, especially if you start out. So this database aims to make this aspect a little bit less daunting. You can set up a profile for your organization, and then other organizations can reach out to you, and we disseminate this partner database across Ireland and also across Europe. So this is a good opportunity if you say, okay, I like to start out, I would like to be found. There are other opportunities out there. We did a whole training on that, but this is like one way to showcase your organization and your work. Next slide, please. Yeah, so, and in terms of help desk support, this is all what we offer here. I mentioned the one-on-one advice meetings, but also we provide feedback on project ideas. We signpost organizations to the appropriate funding program, to the appropriate call, to the national contact points. We can also help with the application, providing tips and feedback. And then if your project is successfully funded, we also aim to help out with project management. As we heard, this can also be like actually a difficult part of the project journey. We offer training in communications, risk and conflict management, structures, templates for reporting. You see this all here. So if you think this is interesting for me, then just simply reach out, and we're happy also to support you if you actually have received the budget, so the amount and the project. Next slide. Yeah, to go back to what I mentioned earlier about the importance of a cross-sectoral approach to partnership, I wanted to note this quadruple helix model. You know that. We have the 4 strands of public authorities, industry, academia, and citizen here. And this is now increasingly applicable. We heard that across all your funding programs to especially also include community groups, voluntary groups. Cross-sectoral is the answer, so more and more programs will be looking for this, live as well, as we just heard. And we can actually help you connect you with this, with the citizen strand, particularly the citizen strand, because of the membership. We have 2,300 members, but we also have like good contacts and networks with the whole community sector. Next slide. I'm coming to the end here. Just mentioning this here, this is just an example of how we're trying to connect actually the different sectors at networking events where we bring together researchers, but also community sector representatives. We organize this usually in cooperation with universities. It is on the topic of, you see it here, environment or climate action. So we're planning also running more of those events. These are in-person ones to really bring people together in one room so they can chat and exchange. Yeah, next slide. This is just real life example of how we actually connected citizens and academia strands for a partnership that was back actually in 2021. This is a LEAP project, local energy agencies in the peripheral regions. We already had a good contact with Averil from the Aran Islands Energy Cooperative. And we knew of this call, we put them in touch with ATU, and they ended up forming a consortium. So just to let you know that this is a specific example, how we are able to facilitate partnerships, how we broker a partnership. And if we know your organization, if we see a call that fits, then we sometimes are able actually to link as exactly these partners together. Yeah, last slide already. You're very welcome, as I mentioned, to sign up to our newsletter, to reach out to us at europe@wheel.ie. This is our website, accesseurope.ie. Follow us on LinkedIn. I'm also happy to share some links now in the chat. Just reach out. We are very happy to support you on the European funding journey.
Christina, thanks so much. We're actually running behind, but your contact details there if anyone wants to get in touch with a specific question. They've got a brilliant website. What I love the best is their calendar. There's loads of EU funds and all different deadlines, and the calendar keeps you right with what's coming up, so I can really recommend it. Next is going to be Shauna. So Shauna's our local authorities liaison officer for our life capacity building project, Ireland for Life. She's going to quickly run through that, and then after that we'll have Michael from our Erin Innovation partners who are doing the helping us with the proposals. So yes, so Shauna, thank you.
Afternoon, everyone. As Aidan mentioned, I'm Shauna Payton, and is it sharing? Yeah. Okay, good. I'm Shauna Payton, and I am the dedicated liaison officer for local authorities, working with them on the National Contact Point team in the Department of Climate, Energy and the Environment. And I've recently joined essentially to help them coordinate and deliver this new LIFE project, which is Ireland for Life. So Ireland for Life has been developed to essentially put us in a better position, I suppose, collectively to apply for LIFE funding and build up the capacity and necessary knowledge across all of the local authorities and the full kind of ecosystem around the LIFE programme within Ireland. So I'll be very quick because I don't want to get between people and their lunch as well. So just some kind of quick I suppose aspects of the Ireland for Life project. So it is a 3-year project. It's led by the National Contact Point team, and it's co-funded obviously by the EU through the LIFE funding programme. And then just some of the aims, I suppose a 2-pronged approach. We'll be trying to strengthen our in-house kind of expertise and skills. We'll be identifying barriers and knowledge gaps across the system in Ireland. And then a big part of this will obviously be empowering local authorities with that necessary knowledge and skills to be in a better position to not only submit, but hopefully also win some funding as well for more of those great projects that some people have mentioned throughout today already. And then I suppose another part of it will be to liaise more closely with climate action officers and biodiversity officers in local authorities and kind of strengthen the communication channels there around the EU LIFE funding programme. And then so in terms of I suppose why LIFE, and I think a lot of people have touched on this already, but I suppose to bring it back to the point that the EU LIFE programme is uniquely, I suppose, suited and catered for funding nature and climate action projects. And a lot of this has been already translated into your climate action, the local climate action plans, local biodiversity plans. And I suppose it's a reminder, and I'd like to kind of send that message that a lot of the kind of schemas and ideas are already there in those plans. And I suppose the EU LIFE programme and hopefully the assistance we're going to provide you over the next 3 years can help actually realise that ambition and turn it into a reality. And then just, I suppose, to point out again, in terms of your own scope, we know that local authorities are, you know, you're on the front line when it comes to climate action and driving initiatives on the ground. And the EU Life programme is, again, very much catered for those action-based local ground initiatives. And I suppose one of the key, pressures on local authorities as well is to kind of coordinate and facilitate this action across many stakeholders, across all of your regions, and again, identifying the funding to make that happen. So I suppose, again, it's just another reminder that there is a link there to EULIFE and that it is an opportunity. So in order to make that happen and to assist you in actually turning that ambition into reality, Ireland for Life will, starting now, be offering free expert support sessions if you are putting a proposal together for the current call, tailored application assistance. Obviously, I'll be there as your dedicated liaison. So if you do have any questions, please reach out to me and let me know. In terms of the design of this project as well, it will be very much centered on also reaching out to yourselves, getting feedback, and ensuring that as we move through the phases over the years, whether that's, you know, from the assistance we're giving for proposal writing, moving through to giving more kind of targeted training to the variety of stakeholders and local authorities, that that is also, I suppose, informed by your input as well and your feedback. So there will be opportunities over the course of this project to do that and to engage with us. I suppose in longer term, just to mention some of the things that we are aiming for to come out of this project, but is that strengthened communication channels, better peer networking to share the success stories of Irish projects and best practices so you can draw down from that, and the development of online centralised knowledge hub eventually, as well as exploring the barriers around co-financing frameworks and helping to address that. So yeah, essentially that's kind of all for me. It's just to kick off and introduce myself. Please get in touch. I have my contact details there, and I can also share them with everybody who's come along to this event later on. So thank you. And I'm going to hand over to Erin Consulting, who will be helping us actually with the first phase of kicking off this project, which is a gap analysis. And I'm handing over to Michael, I believe, who's going to come in on that. So thank you.
Thank you, Shona. I don't have slides. I will be quick. My name is Michael Papapetrou. I work for a company called Erin Innovation. Erin Innovation is a company with our main offices in Dublin. We have some people around the country in different locations based, and we work with European projects. We are contracted within the project that Shona just presented to support with a gap analysis, so to analyze what has happened in live projects so far, specifically in Ireland, but also in other countries, and compare and to understand from the community what is working, what is not working very well, and to try to see how it can work better in terms of practical items and also impact and in terms of funding. So as part of this, there will be some work going on. There is some data analysis going on, but also there will be a survey. First, the questionnaire, online brief, but then also interviews. So we will be reaching out to you about this shortly. In addition, we are also now offering what was already mentioned by Aideen about one-to-one support about your applications for September. So there is a process going on that you can apply to the Department of Climate with a concept note. And if your application is promising, then it's passed on to us to interact with you, to provide some feedback. There can be early feedback in the next month or so about the concept note. And then there is another round of feedback closer to the deadline on looking at the full proposal and how suitable it is. It's important to engage early. It's an excellent opportunity that is offered to you, so we encourage you to use it, because early feedback can be very important on how you shape your proposal, what partners you engage, and that can be determining the chances of success. Thank you.
Right, that was great. Thanks, Michael. And finally, I just want to introduce David, who's part of a project that's up and running. So he's gone through all this. He's gone through the application process, the submission, and now he's helping to run a project. So yes, David, thanks a million.
Great, thanks. Okay, I'll reduce that one as well. Yeah, hi. So my name is David Murphy. I'm from Erin Innovation as well, but from a different angle. Mike was talking about our consultancy work. I'm talking to you about a project, just as an example for you to understand our experiences. So our project is a life integrated project. We started to think about this project back in 2018. It was funded in 2020 and it's running until September next year. It has about a 10 million euro budget, but I think about 23 million in complementary funding from the partners. It's very much a kind of an integrated approach to sustainable development. So we call them 3 pillars within the project. So the first one's to do with the environment, the ecological catalyst. The second one is the just transition, the economy piece, and looking at new jobs and economies in the Midlands. And the third piece is the people, bringing people with us on the journey. So I'll just quickly touch upon those 3 elements to give you a taste of what we thought we were going to do, what we've done, and hopefully a feel for the impact and the scale of the project. This slide I just thought might be useful for you if you're thinking about how you design projects and structure projects. This is a consortium of universities, us as a private company, and public bodies. And we all have different roles across the different pillars, and as well in terms of, I suppose, the legacy and the impact. We also have EPA, who are contributing by funding 5 research projects in parallel to the project. And we have DAFM, Department of Agriculture, supporting with co-financing just to monitor the implementation of the project and take some learnings away for their targets on the agricultural side. It's all linked, as Neil said, you have to think about your legacy from the start. It's about going on a journey and trying to build from the beginning an impact and a legacy post-project. So obviously, the challenge with us in this project is obviously a lot has changed in 7 years. The challenge with these long projects is that the external environment changes a hell of a lot. It's been in particular with people like Bord na Móna and MPWS, their strategies have transformed in the time frame of this project. So it's quite challenging, but quite interesting, obviously, as more attention goes towards nature and restoration. So I'll quickly touch upon this. I'm going to fly through these slides because I'm conscious I'm between you and your lunch, but probably the pictures will tell the biggest story. So the first one was about restoration. It was about back in 2018-19, the need to do enhanced rehabilitation of peatlands, different types, the SACs for MPWS, the extracted bogs for Bord na Móna. So it was quite an ambition to do the first large-scale restoration of land, but also looking at the science of how you measure, how you reduce impacts and emissions, looking at best practice, and really building a knowledge base to try and do this at scale. And obviously now, as we move into the nature restoration law, how do we scale this up? So one of the things, again, which was interesting is when we started this project, Bord na Móna hadn't done any rehabilitation of scale. But obviously, between the time of writing this proposal and it getting funded, PCAS or EDRIS came on. So we were bringing in 3 or 4 million, which is radical and really impactful. EDRIS came in with 130 million euros on 30,000 hectares. So we engaged with the commission on a revision to the contract so that instead of doing rehabilitation, we would do, for Bord na Móna's land, sphagnum inoculation to try and accelerate the rate at which the bog can become a carbon sink. So we embarked upon quite a significant sphagnum inoculation process across the Bord na Móna land. So the EDRIS PCAS scheme funded by DEC carried out the enhanced rehabilitation. And then the project started doing sphagnum inoculation on top at scale to try and see how it worked and experimenting different techniques and methodologies to see what would work. And all that learning then is fed into other projects that are following to try and improve and enhance how we do restoration on peatlands. Also, there's a lot of stakeholder engagement. Again, bring people on a journey, understand why we're doing this, how we're doing this is really important. So there's been a lot of engagement. This is just a feel of what happened just in 2025 alone. A lot of engagement and ensuring that people understand why we're doing this and how we're doing this. The second piece was the idea of the economy, bringing people, creating new jobs and economies in the Midlands as part of the Just Transition. So when we started this project, Aaron was embarking upon trying to do a needs analysis of what an accelerator would look like in the Midlands and to try and pilot an initiative. But obviously, as Bord na Móna changed their strategy and stopped the extraction and stopped the burning in the power stations, they saw this as an opportunity to support new jobs and innovation. So they backed the Accelerate Green program. That's about taking different cohorts at different maturity stages of development of their companies and ideas through a process to help them build capacity, engage with investors and scale their businesses. And it's been incredibly successful. I think we've had multiple cohorts, both at early stage and mature stage companies. We also have an event on Thursday, actually in this hotel, in this room, and next door, we have 350 people coming for an Accelerate Green conference focused on energy around Bord na Móna. It's quite a structured program. It's quite intense, but it's also very rewarding for the companies. And I think it's half learning and education around how to scale a business, but it's also about the exposure and networking that they benefit from along the journey. And they've had quite a lot of success. They've been in, a lot of the companies have done very well for themselves, and there's been a lot of awards for those companies as they scale and develop. And then the third pillar, this is the people piece. So this is the idea of bringing people with us on the journey and the need to communicate and people to understand and support the transition. So if anyone knows the Eden project in Cornwall, it was inspired by that project and the idea that we could do with a place in Ireland to bring people, inspire people and show them how they can take action. So the whole idea was to build a venue, an immersive experience where we can reconnect visitors with nature, we can give them a sense of inspiration and awe, and we can also give them advice as to how to catalyze and take action in their daily lives, but also recognizing corporates have a lot of influence in the system and they are also on a transition journey and obviously have to become more sustainable. It would also be a purposeful venue to bring corporates on a journey, provide them with support as they try and transition their businesses. So we've been on a long up and down journey on this, but we've kind of landed on a new site, a promising site in collaboration with some public bodies just outside Athlone. We've already done a lot of design work, and the whole idea is this kind of indoor encounter experience. So it'd be almost like a fun but educational experience indoors. There'd be an outdoor experience where you'd be inspired and you'd see nature and hopefully see rehabilitation. And then there's a thing called a Futures Hub, which would be a corporate venue where, like I said, you can provide services to corporates. And we've had a whole design team designing this up. We're talking about a 30 million capital expenditure over the next few years to build this venue. So yeah, so it's really diverse, as you can see, in terms of the project. But like I said, the three pillars is about the environment, the economy, and the people, and understanding if we want sustainable development, we have to bring everyone on the journey. So it's quite an ambitious project. It's been quite an experience, but hopefully, like I said, there's already legacy built into the project, and you can see that by how already the project's levered activity and funding outside of the grant funding from the project. And just, I suppose, my reflections, I've been doing EU projects for 25 years now. This is the longest project I've ever done. This is probably one of the most challenging projects I've ever done, but it's also probably one of the most rewarding in terms of you really see the impact on the ground physically on the restoration or with the people as you go through the different pillars. But it is challenging. You can imagine yourself, anyone who knows the current situation in Ireland, the journey that MPWS has been on, the scaling of that organization, the journey Bord na Móna are on and continue to go on. And so it's been quite challenging, I suppose, in our project management role, keeping everyone on the journey. And I suppose over 7 and I suppose 10 years between when we conceptualize the project and when we'll finish, there's a lot of a turnover of people, which is a challenge in the system. But like I said, it's hopefully going to have a nice legacy and an impact. As was already said today, I think when you think about this stuff, I mean, you can use AI to write a proposal, but that doesn't mean it's going to be a good implementation of a project. So what you really need to do is take time to build relationships and build strong foundations at the start with your partners. Be very clear on conditions and funding and such, and set the scene. You need to engage with the policy actors and the policy strategies in Ireland so that you're aligned. And like I said, yeah, life has great potential for impact, but like I said, you really need to like someone said, you need to start very early in the process to really have a good design. And that's where Michael can help. If you have a concept, he can critique your concepts and give you feedback early so that you're on the right track rather than spending a lot of time going down the wrong track as you develop your proposal. So like I said, it's very hard to cover 7-year or 10-year experience in 5 minutes, but hopefully it's giving you a flavor of a real project.
Thanks, David. Yes, I realise it's lunchtime, but I suppose if anyone has a question in the room, like to get someone like David who's been through it all, they're more than welcome. But I think, especially your last slide on that, those sort of tips and advice, we will be sharing the slides. I'd like to thank all the speakers for coming. It's always very valuable, and to hear from other people except for us at the National Contact Point. But we are here to help. We will share the slides with all our contact details, so please do get in touch. If you're a local authority, please reach out to Shauna, and there is those additional supports. If you're interested in the consultations with Éireann Innovation and you haven't received the details on the concept note, contact us and we can share them with you. Life is an amazing opportunity. I'm not going to pretend that it's easy. It's not, but if there's something you are going to do anyway, why not get 60% or even higher of it funded? And we're there to support you through every stage as much as we can. Everyone online, thank you for joining, and please reach out. Everyone in the room, there will be lunch just down the corridor in the restaurant. Please network, talk to people, and come talk to us as well with any ideas. So thank you all. Thanks.